From the spreads to the lines, who's up, who's down? We're crunching the numbers, calling the plays, talking all sports in a big time way. Yeah, yeah. Spreadsheet Sports Rights.
Welcome back to Spreadsheet Sports. It is the 17th of February, and we have a pretty good episode for today. On today, we're looking at the short list of games that they have for NCAA basketball, and just got a handful of games that I think might have some entertainment value for us today, and also some games that I think might be some nail biters. But first and foremost, definitely thank you guys for coming back to the channel. I know you could have went anywhere else, but you're here, so I want to make sure that I have some value for you on today's show. But before we jump into it, I know that I will be providing you guys with a breakdown of rankings, either per conference or I might even just do a rankings for performance of the top 25, top 50, as we're getting closer and closer to March Madness and the tournaments. But either way, I want us all to look at that as we kind of prepare to figure out which games might have some value for those that are in um, the betting world, some data for you guys to look at as well. Just some value that I plan to add on the content. That way, you guys that are viewing, you can make your own decision about how you think games may go. But as always, feel free to go in the comment section. Let me know what you think. I'd love to know what you think. And then that way I can have a different perspective as well. But let's jump right into the episode and see what kind of games we have for entertainment value and other monetary value as well. But let's dive into it. So today's games that I'm looking at that might have some pretty good entertainment value are a handful, a small handful. We don't have a lot of games today, but what I'm looking at for today for entertainment value is I'm looking at Florida A&M, I'm looking at Bethune-Cookman, I'm looking at um, Bucknell, Northern Iowa, and Lamar. I think these are all teams that have a good possibility of winning, but it's going to be a competitive game for them. But I think they can pull it out in the end. For visual appealing efforts, I tried to figure out a way to condense the data. And my challenge is that I want you to see everything in regards to how a game is laid out. However, for visual reasons, I know I can't show you all the data, but I think I have solved that problem. What I think I might end up doing is give you a smaller version of what the game parameters look like, and this is a first attempt to kind of shave down those particular areas of data points on the games. But as well, I will try to figure out a way to put the card for the entire layout of a game in the comment section. So if I can figure that out, which I'm gonna work on, I'll drop those in the comment section. You'll have those to look at the entire game. But for visual reasons and aesthetics, at least you'll be able to see this, and the graphics will be better because of the pixels and how they are laid out. It just makes more sense for me to shave it down even more so you can see the game. But back to the games. These are the games I think that are going to probably go the way of these teams that are on this list, right? I think that they have the highest probability of winning, but also it's not going to be blowout games. I think they'll win. It's going to be competitive and we'll enjoy. Not sure if you're a fan of one of these teams, but if you are, you might have a good day today. But for several reasons, I think that these teams can win the way that it's looking like they'll win. Like for example, with Florida A&M, I see them winning because I like that they have a strong set of upperclassmen that are playing, so they have the experience. They win at home. On top of that, they are doing great in all the categories. Um, it just seems like everything is set up for them. I mean, they're probably going to get close to 80 points in this game. And if they do, I don't see how they lose, but we could always be wrong. If you're into the betting thing, again, this is not a betting channel, but if you're into that, they're not paying that much for this particular game if you chose them to win. Um, Probably you want to lean more towards the spread, but I'm not sure that it'll be that type of blowout. If they win and it's highly competitive, maybe they win by 1 or 2 points. I'm not sure about four, but I could be wrong. Same thing with Bethune Cookman. Strong set of seniors, upperclassmen. Excuse me. They also win very well at home. They're coming into this game with they have a losing record, but they have a better record than their opponent. Same thing with Florida A&M. They have a better record than their opponent, but a losing season so far. But they are doing very well in all categories. And with that being said, and no injuries, another reason why I think that they are a good competitor to come out with a W for this game. Same thing for Bucknell. Again, they're not paying that much if you're in the betting world. Um, but everything is lined up for them to win. They don't have a winning record. However, they have a better record than their opponent, which means that it's probably going to go in the favor of that as well. Northern Iowa, Lamar, both of these are different, mainly because they have a winning record and they have a better record than their opponent. But here's where it gets tricky. With Northern Iowa, they don't have as much experience as their opponent when it comes to leadership, like in regard to seniors and sophomores. Lamar, different story. They have great leadership, seniors and sophomores playing over the freshmen, but both of them struggle to win on the road. So those might be the only ones that might be a little bit more suspect because they have a problem winning on the road, but the other teams are at home. So obviously put something in the comment section about how you feel like these games may go as well. But let's dive into a little bit more of a sniper view for two games in particular, the Florida A&M game and the Lamar game. Let's look at that a little bit more detail. So for these two games, I pulled them out specifically because there's a couple things I want to look at. One of them being, let's start with the Alcorn State and Florida A&M game. The reason I think Florida A&M has the best chance to win and why this might have some entertainment value is because Alcorn struggles to win on the road. Okay. And then on top of that, they have some areas that they're challenging in regards to other categories like the 3 points, the 3 point attempts, also their points. They don't do as well as Florida A&M in these categories. Not to mention, Alcorn State is coming in as a better performer in the SWAC, right, versus Florida A&M. But both teams don't have any injuries, so that shouldn't be a challenge. It's looking like this Wyatt and Sterling Young are going to be your top scorers for these two games. They seem to be the ones that has the most production. But even when you look at the math has it as Florida A&M. But we could see a really, really tight game. I mean, the math says it's 70-81. I don't believe it's going to be that big of a spread between the two of them. I'm thinking maybe 73-75, 71-70, 70-69, something like that probably is what we're looking at more than likely. But we'll see, and I think it has some entertainment value. For the other game, though, Lamar and Southwestern State, okay? It's the Southland Conference. Lamar's dominating in everything. There's really not a hard look to do with this one. Um, the only thing I'll say is this. If you're into betting, they don't have Lamar as the favorite team, which is crazy. They should be, but they're not. Okay. Um, when it comes to the other categories, I just don't see what Northwestern State is like competitive in the slightest bit, right? But we'll see what happens. It might have some entertainment value, and we'll be able to kind of enjoy this game as it unfolds. But let's move through this and let's see what we might see. But this is where the famous phrase of "This is why they have to play." So we'll see how this unfolds as well. Now, this group of games is going to deal with the spread. I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory as far as like understanding how I make my selections. But let's run down the list. I think Florida A&M is going to definitely cover that spread of -3.5. I think Bethune-Cookman is going to cover their spread of plus 1.5. I think they're going to come back. I'm sorry, not plus. They're negative as well. Northern Iowa is also another one that I think is going to cover the spread. Now, Lamar and Stephen F. Austin, um, even though the data says that they're not going to cover the spread, I think that they do. Okay. Sometimes you have to override the data. Remember, the data is just another way of looking at the game, but I think that these two teams, even though the data says they won't cover the spread, that they definitely will. If you're in the betting world, this is something I would look into a little bit more in depth if I'm you. But it looks like they may have a good opportunity to cover the spread, especially with Lamar. They're not favored, but I think that they're a bigger threat than they're given credit for. And then the last one is Southern, obviously. Um, I think they're going to dominate their opponent, and I think that they'll definitely win in this game, and it's going to be all in their favor. And not only do they win, but I think they cover the spread also. So, um, we're going to take a dive into a little bit more in depth looking at the Northern Iowa game, just to kind of see something, because there's something that, even though it says that they do bad on the road with winning and losing, I still think that there's a chance that they have an opportunity today to do an upset and cover the spread for this particular game. But let's look at that a little bit more in detail. So here's the thing about these particular games. Um, your shooters, Mr. Anderson and Mr. Wood. Okay, these two are your productive team members. They don't have any injuries. Let's start right there. Then after we talk about injuries, which they don't have, we talked about who the stars are going to be. But even when you look a little bit more in depth, Murray State has more leadership, a better layout of seniors and juniors on their team, right? I think that is going to keep them competitive. But at the same time, I do like Northern Iowa to win this game. Okay. And I like Northern Iowa just for a lot of different reasons. I think that they also cover the spread. But I still don't want to count Murray State out, right? All the categories are heavy on Northern Iowa. But Northern Iowa does horrible on the road, right? They only win 36% of the games they have on the road versus Murray State that wins at least half of their games at home. So between the leadership and the ratios of win loss at home versus away, that's where it kind of gets a little sticky. The math has Northern Iowa as the winner. Northern Iowa has the better record, and on top of that, a winning record, right? But Murray State is still 13-13. So they have 13 games they lost, but they got 13 they lost. I mean, they have 13 games they won, but they have 13 games they lost also. So something to look at, something to take a deeper dive on, but it's definitely going to have some entertainment value. I think that Northern Iowa does cover the spread, but we'll see what happens. Now, last but not least, are what we think are going to be the two dogs that I think about today. These two teams are the dogs in the fight. I think they don't go away. Um, I think it's hard to overlook them. Southeast Louisiana and Kansas State. I think Kansas State not only wins the game, even though they're not favored, but I also think that they cover the spread. Same thing with Southern Louisiana, except I don't know if they win the game, but I definitely don't see them getting beat by 9 points. So for that alone, the way Southern Louisiana, Southeastern Louisiana is set up and what they have accomplished, I mean, they are at least getting production better than their opponent in 6 of the 17 categories. So with that, I got to give them kudos. If it was 2 or 3 categories, that's different. But at 6, they're competitive. They do great at home in regards to winning, right? And on top of that, they got a really great class of leaders and seniors and juniors. So those two things are, what kind of sway me. They have a better conference ranking than their opponent. Same thing with Kansas State. They have a better conference ranking than their opponent as well. I mean, we're going to dive into these games a little bit more in detail, but this is the overview of what I think the two dogs are going to look like. But let's take a little bit more of a deep dive. So here we are, right? We got Southeastern Louisiana versus McNeese State. I still, like I said, I think McNeese State wins. I just don't know if they can beat Southern Louisiana by 9. For that, I would take the spread if I'm you. Again, not a betting channel. I'm not telling you to take that, but if I were into that world, I would be looking a little bit more deeper in regards to what type of production Southeastern Louisiana can put in the game. So think about that as well. Kansas State, Utah, uh, definitely going to be a nail biter. I mean, even though Utah is like their leadership part, they're playing with maybe like a half of their team are upperclassmen versus Kansas State. They have a significant presence of seniors and juniors. But here's the problem. Kansas State does horrible on the road. Okay. And the same thing can be said about some other teams when it comes to evaluating them. But Utah does great at home. So this is truly where home field advantage would be an advantage for Utah. I just think Kansas State is going to like shine today. And the injury part is also huge, mainly because you see they got injuries, but the shooters and the stars that they have with their contribution, I think are going to be fine. You got a forward and you got a guard that are going to pretty much move the ball around. Um, Definitely going to be some assists. They're going to be crashing the boards. It's going to be a highly competitive game. But as for what we're looking at, I just think that Kansas State can um, definitely definitely win this game. I think they can. I'm not saying they will. I could be completely wrong, but I think they can. And on top of that, I think they cover the spread as well. But we'll see. We will definitely see. So I hope those games had some value for you. I know we talked a little bit about those that would win, some of the ones that we thought might lose, some of the ones that we thought might have some entertainment value and some nail biters. And most importantly, we talked about some of the ones that might be some dogs in today's fights. So, hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you found value in today's show. If you did, as always, please like, comment, share, or subscribe. And thank you again to those that have already done that. You are truly, truly a blessing. So, hopefully, you have a great night. Hopefully, you enjoy the games. And I will see you on tomorrow.
Numbers calling the plays, talking all sports in a big time way. Yeah, yeah. Spreadsheet sports bets, let's ride. Breaking the odds, feeling the vibe. We're all in, no doubts, no fears. This is our house, bring it right here.